Good evening. I asked ChatGPT the following question. If a prosecuting barrister in a trial in the UK knowingly misleads the jury, lying to them in order to discredit the defendant, is that barrister guilty of perjury or some other criminal offence? ChatGPT said the following. The short answer is no, it wouldn't be perjury, but it could amount to other very serious wrongdoing, potentially even a criminal offence in extreme cases. The reason why it's not jury, there's a Perjury Act 1911, perjury only applies to witnesses who are on oath giving evidence. The barrister's addressing the jury, he's not giving evidence. So even a deliberate lie to the jury is not perjury. The second section it talks about is possible criminal liability. It says rare but possible. Perverting the course of justice. This is the most relevant potential offence, but to prove it, the prosecution of the barrister would need to show that the barrister did an act or a series of acts that were intended to pervert the course of public justice, and the act had a real tendency to do so. Knowingly lying to a jury could, in theory, meet that test, but it says the threshold is extremely high. Courts are very reluctant to criminalise advocacy. Yeah, I wonder why. And it would require clear, deliberate deception, not exaggeration, inference, or forensic spin. Well, think about pyjamas. What a certain barrister said wasn't an exaggeration, it wasn't inference, it wasn't forensic spin, it was a deliberate lie to mislead the jury in order to discredit the accused person, the defendant, in order to discredit them, lying. Another possibility is contempt of court. Knowingly misleading the court or jury can amount to contempt, which can be punished by fine or imprisonment and doesn't require a full criminal trial. This is more realistic, it says, well, ChatGPT says, than a perverting justice prosecution, but it's still uncommon. I wonder why. Now, it goes on to something else. Misconduct in public office is not applicable, it says here, because barristers are not usually, quote unquote, public officers for this offence. So we can scroll through that. And then the last area says that the most common consequence is professional discipline. This is where consequences usually land, it says. A barrister who knowingly misleads a jury would almost certainly be guilty of serious professional conduct. Well, I think that certainly happened in the trial of Lucy Letby. Breaching duties to the court. So this is what this person has breached. He breached his duties to the court, to the administration of justice, to honesty and integrity. Under the Bar Standards Board, rules and sanctions can include suspension, disbarment, career-ending findings. The code of conduct is crystal clear. A barrister must not knowingly mislead the court or jury. I believe that's exactly what he did. We know who we're talking about. But it says here the practical reality is this. That's a summary here. Not perjury, because it doesn't fall under that act. A criminal offence only in extreme provable cases. I think it is provable, and I think it is a criminal offence. But it says here much more likely in this summary section, disciplinary action, possible contempt, and reputational destruction. Courts assume advocacy involves persuasion and inference, but deliberate dishonesty crosses a hard red line. So that's the summary of it all. My view in terms of the individual in the Lucy Letby case, in the trial, okay, perjury is off the table. I absolutely think he's perverted the course of justice there. Now, why it is, well, the court's being reluctant to criminalise it, well, Why would they be more reluctant to criminalise one of their own, so to speak, than just somebody off the street? Well, that tells another tale, doesn't it, really? I think he should get an early morning call, 5 a.m, when he's in his pyjamas, okay? And that's what I think should happen. If we were living in a just, decent, fair world, that is what would happen. And he should be on remand until such a time as his trial comes up in a fair, decent world. If we're going to have a level playing field, or are these people, are they above the law? Well, they seem to be. They seem to skirt it, don't they? They seem to manage to get away with it. And clearly, obviously, that it's well, as they say, that system isn't going to turn on one of their own if they can possibly help it. Let them get away with, quote unquote, murder, metaphorically. And the professional discipline aspects, a suspension, a disbarment, career-ending findings, that should be an obvious thing that happens in any case to the individual concerned, an obvious thing that should happen. But I think it should be a perversion of the course of justice as well, and should warrant a custodial sentence for this individual. Will it happen? Will anything happen? Will there even be any professional discipline? What do you think? What do you think, dear listeners? Thanks very much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.